So let me put a question to you. You know how a lot of the time we spend in a narcissistic relationship is seeking out their approval? On the day you stop seeking out their approval, what's left of the relationship? For a whole variety, for a whole lot of trauma-bonded, trauma response, like fawning, and attachment reasons, a dynamic that characterizes lots of narcissistic relationships is us seeking their approval, right? That's a classical dynamic in these relationships. The analogy I can give is that trying to attach to or connect with a narcissistic person is like trying to hold on to a slimy rock in the middle of a stormy ocean. You're holding on for dear life, but you keep slipping off. And you hope you can somehow figure out a way to hold on to it before one more wave slips you off. This approval-seeking dynamic, while it's often most pronounced, for example, of children, for children of narcissistic or antagonistic or emotionally abusive parents, is also something we see, frankly, in all narcissistic relationships. Because narcissistic people do care so much about status and appearances, we learn when we are in these relationships that we are not seen or loved for who we are, but for what we bring to the relationship, what we bring to the narcissistic person. So if we succeed or do good or make money or win a prize or somehow bring good attention or light to the family or relationship, then they may actually pay attention to us or to attune to us. So what does this look like? If you were the achievement-striving, perfectionist kid who desperately tried to be the perfect student or athlete or musician or winner so that your narcissistic parent would approve of you or notice you or be proud of you, then you get this. If you were the partner who cooked gourmet meals or decorated the house perfectly or always looks good or buys beautiful, thoughtful, extravagant gifts, or entertains beautifully, or plans perfect date nights or vacations, or goes out of your way to win over the people who are close to the narcissist, like their family or their friends, or even people they work with, just so the narcissistic partner will approve of you or think that you are indispensable, then you also get this. If you are the friend who is always trying to be that great, cool friend who tries to get the hard-to-get concert tickets, or who suggests a fun night out and figures out all the plans, or talks about the fascinating thing that's happening at your cool job, or the new opportunity you have to prove that you are worth knowing and to get that narcissistic friend's approval. Or you try to win that friend over by sharing a story about a famous or renowned person you met or you worked with or you know, just so they'll be more interested in you. Then you also get this. If you are the employee who goes way above and beyond, who actually tries to literally read the boss's mind, you over-research the topic, you overdo the job, or even feel like you need to share more about your accomplishments or other nifty things you are doing or experiences that you are having, just to get that boss or manager to notice you, to give you that credit and to approve of you, you get this. It's not just doing the good thing to do the great thing, it's to get them to approve of you. The narcissistic relationship is like an old house that always needs work to get done. You don't ever really get a weekend off when you live in that kind of a place. It's the shutters, it's the leaky sink, it's the roof, it's the broken step, it's the big electrical project, on and on and on. But with a narcissistic relationship, you also never get a weekend off because you're forever doing these things in this quest for approval. And this is because of the faulty belief that if we could just wow the narcissistic person and be awesome and great and make them look good and just be really cool, then we would get their approval. And if we get their approval, then we are safe. Now, safe means different things. For a child, it is attachment and perhaps the felt sense that if you are approved of or approvable, then you won't be abandoned. Safe may mean a sense of belonging. And again, in adulthood, it's the same thing. If you're approved of, then you won't be abandoned. And abandonment is a core wound for so many people. If you can get approval, then we are seen and validated. And too many of us conflate approval and love. If we are approved, we are safe because the boss will love us and we keep the job. If we're approved of, we don't end up alone. We don't end up ostracized. In narcissistic relationships, we are perpetually a 6-year-old child who runs home with the perfect score and the gold star on our homework in hopes of the parent noticing us and getting their approval. And that dynamic sustains throughout our lives. We are forever holding up that paper with the gold star, looking at parents, partners, friends, bosses, even adult children, like approval-seeking children. Look, look, didn't I do good? Huh? Look. There's also the challenge that you may show up with your achievement, your proverbial gold star, as it were, to get their approval. But sometimes you got to be careful because you may trigger their competitiveness or insecurity. So your approval seeking, which feels so necessary in the relationship, may even backfire and result in them getting angry with you. So we're right back where we always are with these situations. You can't win. And keep in mind, by approval, I mean that they approve of you, like they think you're good, that you did something cool, that you did something great. They pay attention to you. I don't mean the approval of like you need them to agree to do something that you aren't going to do, like get the car fixed or pay a bill. Does that make sense? That's not what I'm talking about. That second kind of approval requirement, like you need their permission to take the car to the mechanic, that's control. That's different than what I'm talking about here. Lots of survivors find themselves in a haze of exhaustion because of overachievement, and not for the sake of the achievement itself, but because you're pedaling faster and faster and faster to get that their approval. You're trying to hold on to the slimy, slippery rock that is the narcissistic person in your life. Personally, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to look at my sad history, and I'm struck by how much my perfect little student persona of childhood was actually embedded in a fantasy of wanting to get the certificate or the gold star or the prize so I could get the narcissistic parent to notice and maybe be proud of me. Ironically, because the stakes were so high, it wasn't about getting the A, it was about getting notice. Getting the blue ribbon or the A+ would mean literal survival. That anxiety of trying to succeed would overwhelm me, and I would blow it. And I lived in these ruminative fantasies about what it would be like to be that other kid who got the tennis trophy or the academic award or the piano playing medal, fantasizing that if I was as good as them, then I would be the most lovable kid in the world, and I would be loved because I would get that approval. And in my case, that dynamic would trail me well into adulthood, where I would often try to impress partners especially, but also family or friends, by trying to do great, getting the academic award in graduate school or the doctorate or the bestseller. I was still the little kid fantasizing about the trophy, not because of the trophy, but because that would mean approval and love, and I would be safe. Now I was the adult constructing my relationships the same way. One day, I stopped doing that after doing the gruesome work of grief and healing and all the rest of it. I have a handful of people in my life who seem to like me, regardless of my credential or success. I keep them close. And every day it's a battle to not think I have to win people over through achievement. Now, all of this leads to an interesting paradox, which is, what happens to the narcissistic relationship when you really see it clearly and you're no longer seeking their approval because you're not engaging in it the same way? Well, the relationship sort of deflates like a balloon with a leak, because your approval seeking was the major fuel powering the engine. The day you stop seeking their approval by doing, there really is no more there. You may still excel, because that excelling in perfectionism is a very hard habit to break, but it may just be who you are, or that you keep pushing and pushing because you're genuinely interested in whatever it is you're doing well at, but you no longer trot these wins in front of the narcissistic person. In fact, if you're doing well, you don't even tell them about them. Remember the whole don't share the good news or the bad news with the narcissistic person. That's a big part of the radical acceptance, especially when you can't leave the relationship. When you no longer seek their approval, then there is nothing, really. The relationship is what it is, an empty, anemic, hollow, superficial, one-sided, uncollaborative, unattuned relationship where they only notice you when they need something. And you recognize, once and for all, that in fact, there is no there. This may be followed by grief, radical acceptance, and radical acceptance-driven awareness that you have your reasons for perhaps even remaining in the relationship, but they are no longer about hope or chasing the impossible, but instead may be about things like you have minor children together, finances, culture, or a long game you may have to play for other practical reasons. Once you stop seeking the narcissistic person's approval, you start to see that the relationship was a bit of an illusion. And the illusion was kept alive by your hard work, your rushing home with the gold star. Once you get it, and I really mean get it, you step back. And when you are no longer that hard-working source of supply or status for them, they may lean on you for whatever need you fulfill for them, whatever it is. But you have the opportunity yourself now that you're no longer fighting for their approval to instead lean into a more authentic and true reflection on why you do what you do. Why do you work so hard? Why do you do the things you do? Some of those ancient threads of wanting their approval may linger for us for a long time. But once we can separate that out, we may be less concerned with winning and more concerned with the process, the meaning, the purpose of what we are doing. You don't try to keep the house perfectly clean anymore and say, fuck it, I'm going to go take a long walk today. You don't stay up until 2 a.m. to get more work done. You go to bed and say, it's good enough, and there's no point in staying up half the night with this. When you stop trying to get their approval, it's a massive step to getting your life back. Yes, they will get in their digs for a minute, wondering why things aren't the way they once were, perhaps criticizing you or the work or the house because it isn't what it once was. But you can just shrug now. You aren't 6. You don't have to put all the effort into holding on to the slimy, slippery, unattachable rock, because there are other safer and detachable spaces out there that don't care if you got straight A's, or the meal was perfect, or you're a size 4, or you have the right job title, or you know the right people. We have such distorted, messed up ideas of what a relationship is as a result of being in these narcissistic relationships. So much so that we have to relearn that approval or just mere acknowledgement isn't love. Approval seeking is playing to their need for status and supply. In contrast, love, real love, is safe. And these relationships are not. Thanks again.